On the 22nd of March this year, the ambulance committee placed an order with a local company here to get a truck which they guaranteed would be here in 8 weeks. Well, now the time has gone on and on, and people's embarrassing the Rotary and KO and the ambulance people. So at last night's meeting, the ambulance decided that they would seek other arrangements.
Why did the ambulance go to Japan for the order?
Well, they were stated that it was the most rugged chassis that they could get hold of. It's been all through the snowy mountains, and they thought, well, it's the people's money, well, let's try and get the best, and that's why they went to Japan for that truck.
And now where have you placed the order?
We've placed the order now with Warmall Brothers, who have guaranteed us a £200 guarantee that they will have the van built and in Newcastle in 3 months.
And what sort of equipment will the van carry?
It will carry the same equipment practically as what the Sydney rescue van is carrying. It will have its hydraulic 20-ton jacks, its hydraulic spreaders. It will have power saws that will cut steel. It will have asbestos suits that we can get close to petrol fires with semi-trailers. It will have ropes. It will have blocks and tackles. It will have everything required to attend to any smash or any accident that we attend to.
I need hardly say how pleased we are to receive this order at this time, because we were approaching the stage where labour redundancy would occur. This is indeed a very valuable order, and added to the other work that we have at the present time, should ensure continuity of employment of our shipbuilding facilities at the present level for several months to come. The ship is quite an interesting one in that it is to trade within the islands north of Australia and New Guinea, and it's quite a modern ship, of course, in design. 333 feet overall length by 50-foot beam, and will be propelled by two 4,000 horsepower MAN diesel engines at a surface speed of 14 knots. We have already commenced design work on the ship in the drawing office, and we look forward to commencing actual production of the ship in the workshops within the next 2 or 3 months.
This dredge, whilst not big by world standards, is, I believe, the biggest of its type to come to Australia and work in Australian waters. It has been recently working in the Suez Canal project, dredging rock, and we think it will be able to cope with the conditions here in this Newcastle harbour. Rock cutter heads, which weigh between 8 and 12 tonnes, are attached to the end of the ladder that you see, which is approximately 170 tonnes, and the drive is taken through into the main dredge. The pipe, the suction pipe, can pass a rock particle up to 18 inches in diameter, which is passed through the pump and then ashore through a steel pipeline floating to a reclamation area. The dredge itself is powered by 4 1600 horsepower General Motors diesels, which develop approximately 5,500 kilowatts. The main motors run up to 4,000 horsepower. The cutter motor, which is at the back of the ladder, develops up to 1,800 horsepower, and through the reduction motor would develop about 30,000 geared horsepower at the cutter head, which gives a terrific impact effect when you are cutting rock. The cutter heads are being developed locally here in Australia, in Sydney, and we are hoping to improve the performance of the dredge by using special alloys which will enable longer use of cutters.
Mr. Keating, how much more earth and rock has to be removed from the harbour bed?
There's something over 1 million cubic yards yet to be removed, of which approximately half is rock.
And what proportion is this of the original amount?
Round about 70%.
Do you think that you'll be able to complete the dredging within the original contract time?
Yes, we anticipate that we'll be able to complete within the specified time for completion on this contract.
Despite this lag of 6 or 7 months?
Yes.
Just what, in round figures, what is the effect on the City Council of this basic wage increase?
Or in round figures, it cost the council an extra £1,750 a year for its general fund for every shilling increase in the basic wage, and as far as our abattoirs are concerned, it cost about £1,000 a year. That is, of course, for a full year. As this rise operates from the 1st of August only, it means 5/12 of those figures for the current year. But of course, in addition to that, it costs very considerably more because the price of all materials go up correspondingly, and that would add a similar amount as far as purchase of materials is concerned. And then, of course, services are more costly too. So in the aggregate, I would say that it would cost the council in the vicinity of an additional £4,000 a year in its general fund and £2,500 a year in the abattoir.
So for a shilling a week, it's going to mean a lot of money to the council.
Yes, and of course that means one of two things. A council has reached that stage with the acquisition of modern plant and equipment and good organisation that it has very little scope for further economies to be affected or greater efficiency to be introduced. So it really means that either some of our works to the value of the Mount Strait would have to be eliminated, or else the rate increased correspondingly to recoup that amount.
Has any provision been made in the budget already for this?
We usually make a certain provision. We made provision this year for possible marginal increases, but they have already been allowed and in fact exceeded the sums for which provision had been made.
I presume this will be considered again in the revision of estimates later this year.
Yes, we always review our estimates after the 30th of June. They're currently subject to revision, and we will probably have to eliminate some of the works which otherwise could have been included on the revision of the estimates had this basic wage increase not been brought about at this stage.
Mr. James, I suppose you're feeling very pleased about this.
Yes, I'm very pleased today.
And you're representing the metal trades, I believe.
Yes, the Metal Trades Federation over at the ILO conference to be held in Cardiff, Wales, the 26th of August.
And how did you come to be elected to this?
Well, the federal government requested the Metal Trades of Australia to elect 2 candidates to attend. The meeting was held this morning between the Metal Trades Union, which there were 4 nominations. There was Mr. Tom Dardy, the General Secretary of the AWU, Mr. Druce of the ETU, the General President of the AEU, Mr. Arthur Horsburgh, and myself. The result being I was elected together with Arthur Horsburgh of the AEU.
And as I said, you will represent all the metal trade unions in Australia at this conference.
That is correct.
How long is it roughly since you had an Ironworkers Association delegate? I believe it's about 9 years or so.
Yes. Our State Secretary, Harry Hurrell, well, Assistant National Secretary as well, Harry Hurrell represented the metal trades in 9 years ago.
Well, ILO to many people just doesn't mean anything. Just what is it?
Well, it's an organisation set up. Its headquarters in Geneva. It does function like the United Nations, endeavouring to bring about a conformity of hours and anything dealing with industries, especially this section deals with the iron and steel. One of the things that will be discussed at this conference will be the safety issue working in industries. In Australia we have complied with their last request of a 40-hour working week, but some countries are still not working 40, they're working 48. But each country represented at the ILO is expected, when the time is right and the economy of that country is available, to bring in a conformity of hours. Well, we find that in Australia, at the moment 40 hours, but we're not happy with 40, we're going for 35. And so probably at this particular ILO conference, a 35-hour working week could be discussed, with many other things pertaining to industries.
Well, in fact, the ILO acts as a sort of overriding body controlling the trade union movement.
It's a body set up to make recommendations throughout the world. It's not only represented by trade unions, it's represented by governments and on the employer side.